The bee festival always began with music that sounded like summer honey tasted, bright and lingering. By 9 o'clock, the narrow main street of Honeycomb Village had vanished beneath bunting the colour of pollen, and every shop window gleamed with hexagonal displays. Beeswax candles, jars of amber, and tiny crocheted drones dangling on invisible thread. The scent of clover drifted from the hillside, mixed with fire-charred sugar from the kettlecorn stall. Visitors who had driven in from 3 counties used the phrase storybook, yet to the people who lived there, the first Saturday of June meant more than quaint charm. It was the day their livelihoods were celebrated and judged, the day when honey harvests could make a reputation, or break one. No one felt the pressure more keenly than 32-year-old Amelia Parker, keeper of 60 hives behind her ivy-covered cottage on Thimble Lane. Her parents had handed down suits, smokers, and a secret grafting frame technique. When they died in a winter road accident, she'd inherited debt as well as bees. She paid it off by selling comb at farmers' markets, but the dream was larger: to win the festival's Golden Skep for Best Wildflower Blend, secure a contract with the gourmet grocery chain out in Cedar Falls, and anchor the farm forever. Winning required not only sublime honey, but visibility, and visibility this year revolved around Felicity Hart, the reigning honey queen. Felicity, 20 and radiant, had become the festival's icon. She posed at parades in a gold-trimmed sash, twirled her baton in bee-striped sequins, and answered reporters with sound bites about the miracle of pollination. For a week she'd toured local apiaries accompanied by a videographer, promising a live stream from Amelia's hives on Sunday. Every sponsor wanted a moment with her. Every child wanted a selfie. The mayor joked that Felicity could sell honey to a bear and make it say thank you. On Friday night, a coronation rehearsal kept staff at the community green until nearly midnight. Amelia had volunteered to help lug folding chairs into storage, then walked home through dusky air thick with crickets. She passed the festival-owned apiary, a stout cedar-board structure that served as both demonstration hive and symbolic vault for the Queen's ceremonial honey jar. 4 heavy padlocks secured its mesh-screen door. A fresh coat of paint shimmered under the lamplight. Old Bert, the grounds caretaker, waved a tired good-night, while a few last organisers dispersed. Amelia noted that the hives inside seemed calm. She whispered a good-night to them too, out of habit, and continued downhill. The next morning, sunrise touched the cut-stone cottages peach pink. Amelia carried a flat of orange blossom muffins to the judge's tent, chatted with stallholders, and felt hope buzz, sweet and risky, behind her sternum. At 10:30, she joined the crowd outside the main stage, where Felicity, crowned anew with a gilded tiara shaped like 6 interlocking cells, accepted applause. Mayor Alvarez lifted her hand like a prize-fighter's and announced, "Long may she reign." Brass band music burst forth, and confetti the colour of marigolds spiralled across blue sky. At 2:15, Felicity was scheduled to cut the ribbon on the children's observation hive. She never arrived. By 3, whispers laced the festival like smoke. Missing. She ran off with that musician. She's nursing a hangover. She's practicing a surprise dance. Amelia ignored gossip until a breathless volunteer found her near the tasting booth. "Ms. Parker, you have the spare keys, right? We can't find Bert. Felicity's doing a photo shoot in the apiary. We think the door jammed." Amelia frowned. "The spare keys are in my van. Who let her in there without a beekeeper present?" The volunteers' answer blurred as they sprinted uphill. Reaching the cedar structure, Amelia smelled something wrong before she saw it, the sharp, almost metallic odor of crushed bees. 4 padlocks still hung intact. The interior looked dim through the mesh. "Felicity?" Amelia called, fumbling keys. No response. She unlocked all 4, pushed the door open, and froze. Felicity lay crumpled on the floorboards in her golden sash, her skin mottled with angry welts. Hundreds of bees crawled over the folds of her white sundress. More swarmed in a frenzied cloud around the rafters, roaring like shaken grain in a silo. Amelia's beekeeper instincts propelled her forward. She grabbed the stored spare veil, slipped it on, and waded through the bees toward the body, wafting gentle puffs from the lone smoker hanging on the wall. The bees refused to settle. Felicity's arm was cold when Amelia checked for a pulse. A cluster of stingers bristled at her throat like black splinters. Amelia staggered back, bile rising, vision tunneling. In 15 years with apiaries she'd seen bad reactions, puffy eyes, collapsed lungs, but never enough venom to kill an adult this fast. Footsteps thudded outside. Shouts. Someone called emergency services. Amelia backed to the doorway, shutting it behind her to keep the swarm contained, and slipped off the veil. Festival sounds had dimmed. People stood at a distance, uncertain if they should approach. Sirens cracked the warm air, and soon paramedics in improvised protective jackets ventured inside, confirming what Amelia already knew. Felicity Hart, Honey Queen, was dead. Deputy Sheriff Mason Dorr, a square-shouldered man who looked carved from barnwood, established a cordon. "All right, Miss Parker, walk me through this. 4 padlocks were still locked when you arrived." "Yes," Amelia said. Her mouth felt dust-dry. "Each with separate keys issued yesterday. Bert has a set. The festival committee has another locked inside the mayor's safe. I keep the spares." "No sign of forced entry," Mason muttered. "Yet she's inside and dead from stings." He rubbed the back of his neck. Bees don't normally attack unprovoked. Amelia's mind whirred. Not like that. Unless they're threatened or manipulated. Manipulated? The deputy raised a brow. "Certain pheromones can provoke a defense frenzy. Synthetic alarm pheromone, for instance. It smells like bananas. Did you notice that?" "I smelled paint thinner," Mason said after a moment. "Could be I missed it." Amelia made a mental note. She watched investigators photograph the doorframe. An officer opened Felicity's clutch purse and extracted a single brass key, the one meant for padlock number 3. So she had entered legitimately. But who locked the door behind her? And why? Later, Mason took Amelia's formal statement outside the command tent. When he dismissed her, she didn't leave. She stood near the caution tape, staring at the apiary, listening to the bees inside beat against cedar walls in confused waves. The insects were scapegoats in a crime they couldn't conceive. Amelia pulled out her phone, thumb hovering over contacts. She considered calling the state apiarist, then realized police procedure would prevent any civilian interference. If answers were to come swiftly, she'd have to find them before evidence cooled. She began by searching for Bert. The caretaker was finally located behind the grandstand, sitting on an overturned bucket, crushing his weather-beaten cap in both hands. Grey stubble bristled like steel wool. His eyes were red-rimmed. "I locked up last night, same as always," he told Amelia. "Checked hinges, swept inside. Bees were calm. Didn't want no vandals near the ceremonial jar, see? Did Felicity have plans to film there this morning? Tomorrow, I heard. She said something about golden hour lighting." Bert shook his head. I got here around 7, unlocked the front gate to the grounds, then went for coffee at Dot's diner. Maybe quarter hour. Came back, Felix, her assistant, was looking for her. But I never unlocked them padlocks today. Swear on my mother's grave. Deputy already took my keys. Amelia thanked him and walked away, mind looping. If Bert spoke truth, the only sets available were inside City Hall's safe and on her own ring. Hers had been in the van glove box. She'd left the vehicle unattended at times, but a thief would need to know exactly what key fit which lock. Next, she cornered Daisy Morales, the Honey Queen runner-up. Daisy, in silver sash, trembled violently. "She was supposed to mentor me next year," she whispered. "I waited outside the apiary at 11. She texted me, said she'd meet me after a quick shoot, nothing else." "Did she mention who was filming?" "Just our sponsor." She wouldn't name them. Secret big announcement. Daisy swallowed. She'd been tense all week. Argued with Mr. Larkin, festival chair, yesterday behind the stage. Couldn't hear words, but she stormed off crying. Amelia added Larkin to her mental suspect board. The rotund businessman had funded upgraded stands and pushed Felicity into countless publicity spots. A falling out would threaten both brand and ego. Returning to her stall to close early, Amelia discovered her spare smoker missing. Only the empty crate remained. She stared at the place it should be, heartbeat quickening. A smoker wasn't highly valuable, unless you wanted to fill an apiary with thick fumes at the perfect height to irritate bees. That evening, after the festival shut down under police order, Amelia drove to the clinic where the coroner had taken Felicity's body. Dr. Priya Shah, petite and relentless, met her at the side entrance. "I can't share official results," she warned as they walked the corridor, "but I can answer a friend's hypothetical." "Hypothetically," Amelia said, "could a swarm kill a healthy adult within minutes?" "Hypothetically, yes, but it requires hundreds of stings. I counted over 200 on the victim's torso alone. That level of venom causes anaphylaxis regardless of allergy. Time to death could be 10 minutes. Could she have remained conscious long enough to lock a door from the inside? Impossible, Priya replied. Motor control deteriorates fast. She'd collapse. So someone else locked it. Priya nodded, dark eyes somber. Also, the stingers were concentrated, not random. Looked like bees attacked a specific pheromone patch on her skin. Where? Left collarbone. Alarm pheromone pads? Amelia recalled a product used in training demonstrations. A small adhesive saturated with isopentyl acetate, the chemical that screams danger to bees. Applied to cloth, it could direct aggression like a bull's eye. She thanked Priya and drove home under a moon vivid as golden wax. Rain threatened on the horizon, gusting eucalyptus scent across the valley. Parked by her hives, she listened to the steady night hum, so different from the furious roar inside the locked shed. Murder, she thought, using bees as the weapon. Whoever orchestrated it counted on the insects being blamed, and on the logistics puzzling authorities long enough to stage a getaway. 2 clues nagged: missing smoker and paint-thinner odor. She rummaged through her barn until she found an old container of xylene used to clean propolis off tools. Its sharp scent was nearly identical to what filled the apiary earlier. Under it, faintly, lingered banana, alarm pheromone. Mason had missed it. Adrenaline dulled senses. A plan formed. Felicity enters the shed expecting a sponsor shoot. She carries her own key. Inside, she meets someone she trusts. That person applies the pheromone patch, or perhaps tosses a cloth soaked in it. Ignites Amelia's stolen smoker loaded not with calming pine, but irritant burlap. Bees erupt. The attacker, wearing a thin veil and gloves, steps outside, pulls door shut, secures padlocks, pockets keys, and walks away unseen, blending into festival bustle. Later returns keys to safe or van, feigning innocence. But how did the attacker exit without being stung? The door opens outward. Bees behind him would surge toward light, but a blast of smoke could pinch their aggression. Risky yet manageable for someone with skill, who had both motive and apicultural know-how. Larkin, chair of the festival's board, owned Larkin's Pure Clover Honey Company, largest producer in the county. Rumour said he'd offered Felicity a lucrative spokesperson deal. If she'd discovered unethical practices, corn syrup adulteration, child labour in bottling plants, anything, she might have threatened to expose him. Daisy mentioned argument. Larkin had kept bees decades. He knew their behaviour intimately. At midnight, Amelia parked outside the municipal building, where light still glowed in the clerk's office, an unusual sight. She slipped around back, scaling a trellis leading to the archive window she'd helped install last fall. It wasn't locked yet. Inside, she crept through musty file cabinets toward the central hallway. Voices drifted, Larkin's deep rasp and Mason's baritone. She flattened against the wall. "Local disaster," Larkin was saying. "If press blames my festival, our festival, it'll ruin tourism. We must present it as unforeseeable accident, nothing more." Mason sounded wary. Maybe it was. Still, evidence needs time. Evidence, schmevidence. Papers rustled. "Here are tonight's gate receipts. Donate half to Felicity's family, announce goodwill, move on." Footsteps approached. Amelia ducked into a storage closet, heart hammering. Through the slats, she watched Larkin stomp past, a silver padlock key glinting on his chain. Mason followed, expression clouded. After they disappeared, she slipped down the hall. An open office door revealed Larkin's briefcase. Inside, promotional leaflets, a worn ledger, and Amelia's missing smoker, wiped clean but unmistakable with her initials burnt on the handle. She photographed the evidence, then replaced it. Confronting him alone would be reckless. Yet she needed more, the pheromone patch perhaps, or Felicity's key. As she stepped away, a floorboard squeaked. Larkin's shadow filled the doorway. "Looking for something, Miss Parker?" Her mouth went cotton dry. I was searching for Deputy Dorr. Thought he might need a statement." "At 1 in the morning? Come now." His smile was honey smooth. "You always were, diligent. Maybe too diligent." She straightened. "Where did you find that smoker?" "Ah." He strolled to the desk, fingers brushing the brass latch. "Discovered it abandoned near the apiary. Figured you'd want it back." "Near the apiary or inside?" "Details," he said. "I intended to return it, but circumstances became complicated." Amelia forced calm. "Felicity trusted you. Why lock her in with enraged bees?" His eyelids flickered, then he chuckled. "Do you hear yourself? I wasn't even present." "Someone was. They used synthetic pheromone. Only a seasoned beekeeper would think of that." Something in her tone pierced his confidence. Larkin's gaze hardened. "Careful with accusations, Parker. Your debts are considerable, I believe. Sponsorship can vanish overnight." "I paid my debts," she said quietly. "And blackmail won't change what you did." For a heartbeat, they stared at each other across polished linoleum. Then a new voice cut in. "Mr. Larkin, hands where I can see them." Deputy Mason stepped from behind a partition, service pistol lowered but ready. "Heard the whole thing," he added. "Ms. Parker texted me 15 minutes ago. Asked to meet at the office. Good thinking. Larkin's confidence crumbled. This is absurd. Circumstantial. Save it. Mason cuffed him. We recovered lab reports, traces of synthetic alarm pheromone on your gloves in your truck, enough to convince a jury. As officers escorted Larkin away, Amelia exhaled shakily. Mason holstered his weapon. You pulled a risky stunt, he said, but effective. I figured you hadn't ruled him out, and you needed leverage. Still, next time keep me better informed. She managed a weary smile. Let's hope there isn't a next time. 2 days later, clouds finally burst, scrubbing confetti from gutters and leaving the village smelling of wet thyme. The festival had been cancelled midway, yet locals gathered in the community hall for a pared-down memorial. A single photograph of Felicity, tiara gleaming, smile effortless, sat beneath strings of fairy lights. Daisy read a poem about bees weaving brightness through dark fields. Bert placed the ceremonial honey jar on a pedestal, ribbon still intact. When the service ended, Mayor Alvarez approached Amelia. The board voted unanimously, he said. We'd like you to serve as interim festival chair next year and to present Felicity's scholarship in her honor. Amelia hesitated, overwhelmed. I'd be honored, she answered finally. Outside, she walked the muddy path along her own hives. Bees emerged, testing damp air, their bodies laden with purpose. She lifted a frame, watched sun glint through translucent wings, and felt the colony's collective hum vibrate into her bones. Murder had tried to weaponize their nature, but it had failed to understand the greater truth. Bees protected the future. They pollinated orchards, stitched seasons together, and reminded humans that survival depended on cooperation. Amelia closed the hive, replaced the lid gently. The world, still cracked with grief, was nonetheless sweet with possibility. Somewhere beyond the hollow echo of a locked door, summer waited to be harvested, and she would be ready, keeper of bees, bearer of story, guardian of a village that now unfurled toward healing, guided by the quiet, inexhaustible industry of the hive.